A man seemingly bounces through time, vanishing for a decade at a time because of the involvement of extraterrestrial life form. He reappears in the lives of his loved ones, seeing them age as he intermittently returns. The scene opens when we see a man named Trevor McPhee listening to the radio while having a drink. His wife arrives and asks why he is upset as the day is New Year's Eve, and he tells her that he is upset about their financial condition as they can't even have a decent celebration. His wife, Teresa McPhee, tries to calm him down, but he storms off. He gets in his car and heads on the road. As he is driving on the road, there is a bright light flashing in front of him, and his car gets off-road and slams into a tree. There is a bright flash again, and Trevor wakes up in the car, which was okay a moment ago, now looking all rusted. He struggles to get out of the car, but manages to get out by nudging the door harder. He goes to the road and hitchhikes on the side. A car stops to pick him up, and he takes a lift from Ray Carter. He arrives at his home, but his keys do not work at the door. Teresa opens the door, and she looks slightly aged. She asks him where he went, and he tells her that he had an accident while heading to the store. She tells him that it has been 10 years since the day he disappeared, and she has thought about it every single day. She then slams the door in his face and leaves him confused. He goes inside behind her and sees that his home has all changed. He asks her when she redecorated. She asks him how he dares to come back after abandoning them for so long. But he is confused and tries to explain to her that he didn't abandon them. Teresa tells him how she waited for him all night, and then when he didn't return even the next day, she was worried about him, that she was afraid that something has happened to him. Trevor looks at the magazines lying nearby, and he watches the date and realizes that it is 1959, and 10 years have passed. But he thinks that this can't be possible. He tells Teresa about the bright flash and the accident, and to prove his statement, he points out that he is still wearing the same clothes. They deduce that maybe he got amnesia because of the accident. They then head to the hospital to get Trevor checked. They meet Dr. Golden, who tells Trevor that his disappearance has somehow improved his health, and he does not have amnesia. Trevor questions why he can't remember anything. The doctor suggests he go home as living in familiar surroundings may help him remember. Teresa and Trevor head to a bar, and Teresa asks him if he is just making an excuse. He explains to her that she is the only thing he has left, and remembers that this 10-year step has made him a stranger to everything. He reassures her that he loves her. As they are communicating, Ray arrives there and asks Trevor how he is feeling. Trevor tells Teresa that he picked him up at the accident location today, which Ray confirms. Later at night, Trevor is at home and he looks out a window to see how the world around him has changed. There are more people and more lights there. Teresa arrives there and they start to make out. Next, we see Trevor and Teresa sleeping, but something strange happens. There is a sudden bright flash again, and Trevor arrives at a strange place resembling a cave. He wonders where he is and starts to look around. He shouts to be let out of there, which surprisingly works. The next moment, we see Trevor waking up lying on the floor in his own house's bedroom, and the room's layout is changed completely. He has now arrived in the hippie era. He looks in the cupboard, finds his suit, and wears it. He goes out into the living room and sees Teresa, along with Ray and a kid present there. The kid asks who is he, and Teresa tells him that Trevor is his dad. The kid is Mark McPhee, Trevor's and Teresa's son. Trevor again asks how this can be as he just came back last night, but Teresa tells him that it has been a decade and Mark is now 9 years old. She explains that the last time they were together when she woke up, he had gone. She is angry at him and he says that he has no idea that this would happen again. He asks why Ray is there and learns that he is Teresa's new husband. Trevor gets angry listening to this, but Teresa says that Mark needs a family and she can't wait for him, not knowing if he will return or not. Ray tells him to leave, but Teresa notices something about Trevor. She takes out her and Trevor's marriage photo and shows it to Ray. She comments how Trevor hasn't aged even a bit. Trevor also notices this and he heads out in disbelief. He sees a protest going on, and there he sees aged Dr. Golden, but he does not recognize Trevor at first. He tells Dr. Golden who he is and explains that what happened to him 10 years ago happened again. He says that something is responsible for these blackouts, and each time he has one, he jumps a decade into the future. Dr. Golden still does not believe and thinks he is some kind of junkie and suggests him to stop using drugs. Trevor heads to a bar, and Ray arrives there too, and tells Trevor he wants to help him. He gets angry at Ray for stealing his wife and kid, but Ray explains that the circumstances were difficult, and Trevor somehow understands Ray and forgives him, and they decide to work together. As Ray is a psychologist, he believes he can help to find out what is going on. As they are talking, Trevor feels nauseated and heads to the toilet. There he sees something moving in his stomach and he passes out. Ray rushes to the toilet but does not find Trevor there. Trevor once again appears at the same strange cave. After a moment, he wakes up lying in the same bathroom stall from where he disappeared last time. Trevor goes out and is noticed by his son Mark, who approaches him. He tells him that the year is 1980 and that they were waiting for him. Mark says that they can help him, but he refuses and heads out. Mark and Teresa arrive in their car and she asks him to come home with them. Trevor is feeling depressed about losing 30 years like this, but is reassured by Teresa that they are there for him, and they convince him to head home. At home, he talks to Mark about college and baseball. He shares with him how his stepfather Ray took him to see baseball, to which Trevor says that he wishes that he could be around for Mark. Mark understands that it is not his fault, and then they talk a lot about baseball. Later, Trevor meets with Ray. He explains that Trevor is a little sleep-deprived as he is trying to not sleep so that he doesn't black out again, but he is as fit as he was when Dr. Golden examined him. He is still physically and mentally 25 years old. Trevor asks how this is possible, and Ray explains that this can only occur if time would have slowed down for Trevor relative to the others, causing him to age slowly. Trevor thinks this is crazy, but Ray says it is possible only if he went through a wormhole. Ray then explains to Trevor what a wormhole is, and how passing through one will cause anyone to grow slowly. Trevor asks if anyone ever found a wormhole, and Ray says no, but that they will have to keep an open mind. Trevor asks if he is mentally and physically well, then what are the strange dreams and hallucinations he is having? Ray says that they can find answers by examining his transition stage from waking to a blackout state. Ray is proposing that Trevor go to sleep, but Trevor is not willing to. Ray agrees and talks him into cooperating. They set up the camera and other equipment on Trevor. Trevor starts to fall asleep and the bright flash appears again, and he again arrives at that cave. After a moment, then Trevor wakes up in the same room and thinks that he didn't black out this time. But Teresa arrives there looking much older and tells him that it did happen, and it's 1990. But this time they have got it on camera. Trevor asks where is Ray, and learns that Ray has passed away from lung cancer. Teresa tells him that Ray has left something for him. They head out to the living room and are greeted by Mark. Teresa plays the tape, and the tape shows that as Trevor fell asleep, there was a bright flash, and he suddenly disappeared in thin air. After this, there is a video clip of Ray. He greets Trevor and explains how Trevor has proven his many crazy theories. He says that on Trevor's return, it's unlikely he will be there, so he is leaving it to Teresa to help him. Ray proposed that Teresa access Trevor's subconscious mind through hypnotic regression and directly speak to his sleeping mind. This way, they can learn where he has been going and why. Trevor is hesitant, but Teresa says that she does not have much time and that he will have to trust her. Trevor agrees, and they conduct the procedure. As Trevor falls into a deep hypnotic state, she asks him about the event of his accident during the night he first disappeared. He describes the event and how he saw the light, and suddenly he is taken over by some other entity, and that entity speaks to Teresa in a deep, raspy voice. That entity tells Teresa that Trevor was brought to them. She asks who is he, and he says that he is a visitor from far away. He belongs to a world of machinery that searches the cosmos for other life forms of life and transports them to their world using wormholes. The entity explains that they have to bring the host to their world to connect to them, as they can only feel the other worlds through the senses of the host that they inhibit. Then the entity explains that they return the host to their original planet and take them to their own homeworld at intervals to share their discoveries. Teresa calls it a parasite, and the entity corrects her, calling itself a symbiote. She asks why he didn't make himself known, and the entity says that they are psychic species and can only communicate by the host's subconscious mind, which explains why she can talk to him now while he is hypnotized. Teresa explains how this all is destroying Trevor, but the entity has no understanding of time. Teresa explains time to the entity and tells him the importance of human history and how chronological events make our life make sense. Upon hearing this, the entity tries to understand the human dependence on chronological events and history, and it agrees to separate from Trevor. Teresa is relieved, but after Trevor suddenly disappears, she starts sobbing, as this means that he will be back 10 years later. They are an alien race without the concept of time that use wormholes to find planets with living creatures and enter them as hosts. When the host is asleep, they use a wormhole to abduct them and transport them to their homeworld where they can learn everything the host has experienced. However, Since the aliens have no concept of the passage of time, they didn't realize that each time they returned their host to their homeworld, they were returning him 10 years later each time due to the effects of relativistic time dilation, putting him further out of touch with everything he loves. In a final attempt to return what he has taken from Trevor, the symbiote disconnects from Trevor and sends him back to the night he first left. He now has his life back, and nobody knows what happened, except Trevor, who retains the memory of his experiences. He rushes back home, and knocking on the door, he now feels afraid that Teresa might not be there. But to his surprise, he sees a young Teresa and is happy to see her again. Knowing what he complained about in the beginning is so trivial compared to what he could have lost, his whole life. Life is at best an uncertain path. Perhaps we should be grateful with what we have, for even these riches may disappear along the way. That's all for today, guys. If you liked this video, then I am sure you will like these two videos with similar theme. See you next time.